Hey guys, welcome to this week's Deal of the Week for May 16th. We've got two really cool houses, so let's just jump right in and let's get a first impression on the curb appeal. And that's part of the reason that I picked this one. This is in the Disston Heights neighborhood, and this is a really nice example of that sort of mid-century, very nicely kept up, beautiful oak trees in the front yard. So let's right off the bat, let's just go ahead and give this one an A for curb appeal because I just love the way this house looks. Now the neighborhood, as I mentioned, is Disston Heights, which is right smack dab in the middle of St. Pete. It fits snugly in our no flood section, which is this kind of box here in the middle of St. Pete. Now that's not to say that there aren't non-flood zones over here. Like a lot of this is not a flood zone, but then you've got spots of flood zones up here. Always check the flood zone code, which should be X or X500, so you don't have to get flood insurance. You don't have to worry about that stuff. But this house is not in a flood zone. So Disston Heights, partly because of the non-flood zone, we'll give it a B. Well, we'll actually give it a B+. It is one of my favorite neighborhoods. It doesn't have the same sort of historic feel of, let's say, like a historic Kenwood over here, and it doesn't have the sort of, kind of upscale feel of, Old Northeast or Crescent Lake, but it is a really, really solid neighborhood. So let's jump into the pictures and take a look. Exterior, it looks like it's very well kept up. Now, this is what you're going to see in a lot of the houses in Disston Heights. Obviously, here's your living room. And then you have this big, narrow sort of room here. That would have likely been an open breezeway when the house was built. You can almost tell by the ceiling here. It's, like a paneled ceiling. And then this probably led out to a garage at some point. But almost every house in the neighborhood has had that enclosed. So the layout of this house is pretty much what you'd expect. And it's really, really nicely decorated. It doesn't, it's a big kitchen, but it's not open to the rest of the house. This probably looks like maybe a 10-year-old renovation. You typically see white cabinets, but for example, over here, you could easily fit a nice little dining table. So let me just jump back. We'll give the kitchen, say, a B-. It's not brand new, but it is still very nice. And the flooring, I'm going to give it an A-. And this house just looks super clean to me. Good sized bedroom. There's some distance in between those beds. This is what you're going to get in these older houses, these pretty tight bathrooms. And this second primary bathroom looks pretty big. Nice big backyard with a deck, which I'm going to give an A because you got plenty of room to add on if you wanted. And this is a storage that they converted into, obviously, an Airbnb. It could be a crafts room. You could make it whatever you want, a little party room, or you could rent it out. And the nice thing is, and also it's got in here, it's got a AC unit up here, which is obviously absolutely necessary in the Florida summers because these things are probably not that well insulated. So beautiful big backyard, and you got another storage, which is nice because you don't have a garage. So we're going to give it a B- just because we don't have a garage, but we do have a storage shed. So beautiful house, nice big backyard. This is a 3.5, 1,573 square feet, and it's at $362 per square foot. I'm going to say that's maybe a touch high, even though it's got a lot going for it, and I don't think that the house really needs any work. I'd like to see it maybe in the $549 range. So just from the pricing, I'm going to give this like a C+, because if I were going to make an offer on behalf of a client on this house, I would probably honestly be at $549. And, I don't know if they would take that because I think they've only been on the market now. Let's just take a quick look. Yeah, they've only been on the market a couple of weeks, and they've already had a $25,000 price reduction. So who knows if they'd be amenable to that. Phase two, what we always try to do is, obviously, if you don't like the house, there's no sense in moving to phase two. But if you do, you got to start asking the questions. If you like the house, what might sink the deal? If you put an offer in on it, what might happen after the offer was accepted? And so there's a couple of questions we always like to ask. And the first one is the roof age. And on this particular house, it's a brand new roof, so that's good for the 4-point inspection. Unfortunately, the other 3 points we don't know about. They don't include any information about the AC age. We don't know about the electrical. These houses that were built in the 50s, hopefully they've been upgraded at some point, because electrical loads now with all the extra appliances are a lot more. And so you would like to see a newer panel. This house has been renovated, so we would assume there would be one, but that's something that we want to find out. And the same goes with plumbing. We don't want to see any galvanized pipes in any of these houses. And of course, we're in an X-flood zone here, so that's not going to be an issue. So, we still have 3 big question marks that we would want to answer before we made an offer on this house. But for a Disston Heights 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, which is, not an easy thing to find, at 1,573 square feet, this is a pretty nice house. Again, I'd like to see this maybe in the 345, 350 a square foot, put it at around 549. So we'll keep an eye on this house. But if you'd like to see it, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. We'll set up a showing. And with that, let's take a look at house number 2. All right, and here's house number 2, and this is in the North Kenwood neighborhood. And let's just take a look and see what our first impressions are. Curb appeal. Cute cottage-style bungalow. I'm not a big fan of no landscaping. I mean, they have a little palm tree over here, but nothing to break up the big expanse of grass here. So, it's a cute house. I think a little bit more landscaping would be in order. So let's just give it a C+ for the landscaping. Now, the neighborhood is North Kenwood, and you get sick of me talking about this, but North Kenwood is also well within our sort of non-flood rectangle, right in the center of St. Pete. And nice thing about North Kenwood is right next to historic Kenwood, and the prices there are about twice what you would pay in North Kenwood. So if you're looking for a deal and you still want to be close to downtown, this is a place to do it. It's not as far along as some of the other neighborhoods like like historic Kenwood or Crescent Lake, but it is really, really nice. So we'll give the neighborhood a B-. Let's take a look at some of the pictures. And what's interesting here is obviously the exterior of the house is typically the first picture you're going to see, but the second picture is kind of their money shot, and that is this really, really cool backyard that they have set up here. I mean, just really nice fire pit, and they got another sort of covered pagoda in the back here. So, I mean, we're just going to jump to the outdoor space grade and give it an A, because it's really, really cool back there. And you can see not that far from downtown. This is downtown here. We're talking about maybe a 10, 15-minute drive. So let's keep bouncing through the pictures. Some more of the backyard. Now, this is a small house at 906 square feet. And as expected, it's just sort of the main living room. Now, the flooring, we're going to give an A here, or really an A+, because that was some serious real hardwood, not laminate floors, which is really nice. Kitchen is a little bit small, and I don't know if you're going to be able to get a table in there, but we'll give it a B. And then the 2 bedrooms are relatively small. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. The layout is, we'll give it a solid B. I mean, there's not a bunch of hallways or anything. There's nothing weird in this house. It's just a sort of cottage style house, but it does get a lot of good natural light, which is nice. And inside laundry, and there's your second bathroom with a double vanity, which is pretty nice. And then you actually do have some storage. There's no garage, so we'll give it a solid B on the storage. So let's take a look at the price here. We're at $370, which at $408 a square foot is higher per square foot than most houses in North Kenwood, but because of the size at 906 square feet, that includes the land, obviously, that's going to skew a little bit higher. I like this house at about 349-ish, 350 maybe. They had a price drop. They went on the market, and this is interesting. They went on the market at the beginning of March at 390. They went pending right away, and then sort of the mood changed a little bit, and it's been on the market ever since and has had a couple of price drops at 370. So now we're a full 2 months and change into this. I'm guessing they would be looking at offers somewhere in the 350s at this point. So if this is a house that you like, obviously we always move to phase 2, which is you start asking what could sink the deal if you made an offer. This is an older house, so we want to know what the deal is. The flood zone is an X here, so we're not worried about that. The roof situation here is 2018 was the roof, but we don't know the AC, we don't know the electrical, we don't know the plumbing. I don't make offers until I know this stuff. An older AC is not the end of the world. We like to see service records. We like to see roof ages under 15 for sure. And then we want to know at some point, we would look at permits and county records to see if there's been electrical or plumbing upgrades, because we do not want to see galvanized pipes in a house. That can be an issue. So this is a really nice little house in a great neighborhood, North Kenwood, a very, very much an up and coming neighborhood. It might be a little bit high at 370, but maybe in the 350s, this might be a go. So if you are looking for a house, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. We'll set up a showing to go see this one. Also remember that real estate commissions have changed for 2025. So if you're a buyer and you haven't already signed with an agent, you will soon find out when you do that you have to sign a buyer's agreement before you can tour any home, and that includes a compensation agreement to the agent. What we're still finding is that most sellers are offering compensation, so you may not have to come out of pocket for commission, but it's something to be aware of. I put together an ebook that explains all this. I would encourage you very strongly, click the link, download the ebook, because it's very important before you sign with an agent that you understand how these commissions work and in what circumstances you might have to come out of pocket for your agent's commission. So those are our 2 deals of the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you're looking for a house in the St. Pete area, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. I'd love to help you out. And with that, I will see you next time.